Minister, quel est votre message aux Canadiens qui veulent aller combattre en Ukraine? Est-ce que vous les découragez à aller se battre à l'étranger?
C'est un choix indépendant et chaque personne doit choisir l'étape prochaine pour eux-mêmes. Mais c'est une situation très volatile et très concernante. Nous avons déjà regardé ce matin la situation très horrible à Kharkiv, par exemple. Et ça c'est très concernant pour moi comme ministre de la Défense nationale. Mais en même temps, nous devons poser la question, qu'est-ce que nous pouvons faire? Et comme ministre, je travaille très fort avec le gouvernement de s'assurer que nous devons faire qu'est-ce que nous pouvons le faire.
Mais ces gens-là se mettent quand même en danger.
About the fact that, you know, the West seems to be amping up sanctions, but there, are talks about whether or not this is actually going to work when there are reports that Vladimir Putin's mental state is increasingly unstable and that he could feel cornered and lash out even further as a result of this. I mean, is that a consideration?
At this point, only Putin knows what Putin will do. And so our approach is to make sure that we are taking the necessary steps to prepare for any eventuality. And that is why we have, from a military aid perspective, put 3 tranches of aid on the table already. The first tranche was $10 million of lethal and non-lethal aid. The second tranche was, over the weekend, $25 million in non-lethal aid, helmets, goggles, and the like. And then yesterday you saw us announcing more lethal aid to Ukraine, anti-tank missiles, ammunition. We are there for Ukraine. I've been in regular contact with Minister Resnikov and the Ukrainian government in order for us to continue to put whatever we can on the table, in addition to sanctions, in addition to humanitarian and economic aid. Canada is here for Ukraine. Thank you.
Pensez-vous que les Canadiens qui s'en vont, qui veulent aller combattre en Ukraine, non seulement se mettent en danger, mais peuvent devenir un problème pour le gouvernement canadien?
C'est pas un problème, mais comme j'ai déjà dit, ça c'est un choix pour eux-mêmes. Et comme ministre de la Défense nationale, j'ai déjà dit et discuté avec mon chef d'état-major de la Défense que ça c'est le temps pour les forces armées canadiennes d'être pas en Ukraine, mais dans le pays à côté de ce pays. Mais c'est une situation très dangereuse, bien sûr, et nous devons être très eyes wide open sur ça.
Talk about that in English as well. Just to repeat what you said about the estimated Canadians who might want to go fight, and then just in addition to that too, you mentioned about Kharkiv and the bombardment that we've seen overnight in Canada at least. So is that going to change Canada's strategy or aid going forward?
So I woke up this morning, like everyone, to be even more horrified than I was over the past number of days about the destruction that the Russian regime and Putin are exacting on an independent and sovereign country. And to know that civilian targets have been hit and that children and families are dying unnecessarily is absolutely horrifying. At the same time, my job as minister is to ensure that we are coordinating as government in terms of the aid that we are putting forward. I described what the military aid is that we've put forward, and it is extensive, and we will continue examining what else we can do in the area of military.
And I had asked that question also about, just to repeat what you said, about Canadians who might want to fight.
In terms of the Canadians who might want to fight, I truly understand that decision process, especially those who have Ukrainian roots. I will say that is an individual decision that Canadians are making for themselves, and our job as a government is to provide information about the severity of the situation on the ground in Ukraine.
Mais n'avez-vous pas la responsabilité de décourager ces gens-là d'y aller et de se mettre en danger?
comme j'ai déjà dit, ce n'est pas le choix de le gouvernement du Canada de faire ça, mais nous devons dire chaque fois quelle est la situation, est-ce que la situation est dangereuse, et donc nous devons continuer de dire ça, mais le choix de bâtir là, ça c'est un choix individuel. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
On demandait donc, M. Champagne, quand on voit ce qui se passe sur le terrain, est-ce que ces sanctions qui ont été imposées sur la Russie sont un coup d'épée dans l'eau, finalement?
Non, je vous dirais, ce que vous voyez présentement, c'est qu'on est en train d'imposer au régime de Vladimir Poutine les sanctions économiques les plus importantes depuis la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Rappelez-vous, on a sanctionné la Banque centrale, on a mis des sanctions sur plusieurs banques russes, on s'est assuré de fermer les espaces aériens. Je vous dirais que la Russie va sentir le poids de l'Ouest qui est en train de dire ce qui se passe, c'est complètement inacceptable, c'est horrifique, vous avez vu. Et je pense que ce que Vladimir Poutine n'a peut-être pas réalisé, c'est qu'il est en train de galvaniser l'Europe, l'Ouest, j'allais dire d'une certaine façon qu'on n'a pas vue depuis la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Et ces sanctions-là vont au cœur de l'économie russe. Donc, ce qu'on est en train de faire, c'est d'envoyer un signal très fort. Et tout est encore sur la table. Mais je peux vous dire, M. Filion, si vous regardez dans l'histoire, sanctionner des banques centrales, fermer l'espace aérien, c'est des mesures qui sont fort importantes et qui vont toucher au cœur du régime de Vladimir Poutine. Et on l'a toujours dit, en anglais, on disait « follow the money », suivre l'argent. Je pense que c'est exactement ce qu'on est en train de faire pour appliquer la pression maximale sur le régime de Vladimir Poutine, parce que vous savez, pour moi, c'est une attaque contre la dignité, c'est une attaque contre la décence, c'est une attaque contre les démocraties. Et on le voit, le peuple ukrainien se bat au nom des démocraties. Et moi, je suis fier de voir que la communauté internationale est en train de se rallier pour imposer le régime de sanctions le plus important depuis la Deuxième Guerre mondiale.
Comment expliquer qu'il ne recule pas? Est-ce que ça veut dire que c'est trop peu encore?
Écoutez, les sanctions économiques et le message, je pense, que l'Ouest est en train d'envoyer devraient faire réfléchir Vladimir Poutine. Personne ne peut prétendre de connaître effectivement où il veut aller. C'est clair que les destructions, les attaques sur les civils qu'on a vues présentement, les images qui nous arrivent de l'Ukraine choquent l'humanité. C'est des images qui nous rappellent 1945, quand on voit des édifices du gouvernement qui sont attaqués. C'est le genre d'images que, je pense, l'humanité pensait qui était confinée à 1945, à la dernière guerre mondiale. C'est choquant et c'est sûr que c'est une guerre de choix que Poutine a faite et il va payer le prix pour ce qu'il est en train de faire en termes de destruction. Et pour moi, je pense que la communauté internationale, l'Ouest, s'est coordonnée d'une façon remarquable pour imposer le maximum de sanctions économiques qui vont étrangler l'économie russe et, on l'espère tous, va faire reculer Vladimir Poutine.
Couldn't that message have been even stronger, though? I mean, so crude imports from Russia, that's negligible. It's symbolic, largely, right? In 2020, we didn't import any crude from Russia. So we do import products from Russia. Couldn't there be ban on those products? And is that
I would say not much. I mean, thanks God, we don't need to import oil from Russia anymore. And I think what you've seen is the broadest package of sanctions that you've seen since the Second World War. Thankfully, Canada is not either dependent for export or import from Russia. As you know, on both sides, it's less than 1% of our total trade, so it's negligible. On the other end, I think that closing the airspace, making sure that the Central Bank of Russia would be out of the international system, making sure that a number of Russian banks are out of the SWIFT system to make the international transfer. This is unprecedented in the world. I mean, you have to go back to a long, long time to see that kind of unity of the West to send a clear message to Vladimir Putin, because this is an attack on decency, this is attacks on dignity, and I think that we have all seen the Ukrainian people rising and sending a very clear message, and we're happy to support them. Everything is still on the table. We'll make sure that Vladimir Putin pays for what is going on right now.
Were you working with the Canadian private industry? You know, you have a lot of relationships.
We're talking to everyone in the industry, and everyone wants to step up to support the Ukrainian people.
Avez-vous une opinion par rapport aux Canadiens qui décident d'aller combattre en Ukraine, qui se portent volontaires?
Écoutez, je pense que la ministre des Affaires étrangères s'est exprimée sur cet enjeu-là. Moi, je pense que le gouvernement fédéral, présentement, fait tout, justement, pour appuyer le peuple ukrainien. Puis les images qu'on a vues qui sortent ce matin particulièrement de différentes villes en Ukraine choque l'humanité. Et je pense que ça va encore plus galvaniser les gens à faire tout ce qu'on peut pour aider le peuple ukrainien. Merci. À tantôt. Merci.
Good morning. Mr. On-Camera, in order to bring the airspace closed to Russian aircraft, it seems like there's a lot of confusion with NAV Canada and the order from Transport Canada. So how much time did NAV Canada actually get to execute this order? And was there any provisions that were laid out for the potential that there could be, say, a humanitarian flight that's declared by a Russian pilot and so on?
Yeah, look, there's no confusion. NAV Canada was notified before even the order became public. There's ongoing review about what happened with that particular incident, but it's clear. Our airspace is closed for Russian planes.
But NAV Canada says that they can't necessarily enforce that. That's something that they would have to, like if the plane's in the air and they say it's humanitarian, they can just notify Transport Canada. And other than, we've seen the other two flights that have been diverted out to the Atlantic Ocean, what was the real, there's no real teeth for NAV Canada to do
NAV
this.
Canada,
it's Transport Canada that would have the teeth though. Right?
NAV Canada has a protocol to react when things are, when there is a potential violation of our Canadian airspace. So they have protocols and they can follow them when they need to. So we're going to review what happened particularly in that incident, but I've had a meeting yesterday morning with NAV Canada CEO. I wanted to make sure that they understood the rules and the protocols, and I was reassured that he has full confidence in their ability to enforce the NOTAM. So I was reassured by the conversation I had with NAV Canada CEO because I stressed how important that this NOTAM is upheld.
How much does it affect Russia?
Thank you.
The NOTAM. How much does it really affect them?
Ça va vite.
Ça va être un plaisir.
Êtes-vous capable de nous dire un mot, M. Champagne, sur l'aide humanitaire de 100 millions supplémentaires pour le Canada? Qu'est-ce que vous en savez, M. Sadja? Michel Gabon,
Il va l'avoir, il sait, lui. Il va être capable de vous en parler.
About the ships, when does that come into effect?
It's coming into effect immediately.
Okay. What difference will it make?
Well, this is part of a comprehensive package of sanctions and economic measures to put pressure on the Russian regime to stop its aggression against Ukraine. This will have significant economic impact on Russian boats or ships that are either owned or flagged by Russian.
How many ships like that do we have in Canada every day? Or?
So we don't have a lot, but there are ships that carry either from, we don't have a lot that come from Russia, but sometimes they come from somewhere else and they carry other products. So this will have an impact, and it is part of what we're seeing other countries as well do. So the UK announced this yesterday. I know other countries are considering doing the same. So this is how potent these type of measures can be when most countries around the world use the same measures.
Any impact on Canadian economy because we already have a supply chains issue? Could that get that worse?
We are certainly monitoring that. We've studied that. We've studied the kind of impact, and that's why we want to work with industry on figuring out alternatives for them to use.
What kind of impact are you anticipating? Since you said you studied it, but didn't say what the impact could be.
Yeah, look, I'd rather not talk about that. This is. At the end of the day, this is part of a comprehensive measure, and it's important morally, economically, to stop the aggression that's going on in Ukraine. We will work with the industry and stakeholders to ensure, to mitigate and find alternatives, but there's a moral imperative for us to do this.
And which ports will it affect? Like, is it going to impact ships that are already here? Do you see it concentrating more in the Arctic area as well, where we know there's Russian interest? Which areas do you see this being most impacted?
It's mostly on the eastern side because that's where some of the boats have seen. But look, at the end of the day, it's a comprehensive measure that will impact the entire Canadian waters.
Are you able to give us an update on the investigation into the Russian flight that reportedly entered Canadian airspace?
That was just started yesterday, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Transport Canada, from my department, on the review.
On the ships, can you just give us a rough number of maybe how many a week, a day, how many there is in Canada right now, just to get a bit of a scale?
I need to get back to you, so I don't want to say the wrong number, so I'll get back to you.
But
with
you
that.
say it's a pretty small number.
It is,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Minister? Can you tell us how the money is going to be used? Is it for refugees, the 100 million? Would it be for particular aid specific targeted to Ukraine? How is it going to be used?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that we've been monitoring this situation very closely, even from the beginning, even before Russia continued its invasion. And that's why if you recall, the original $50 million from development and humanitarian, we knew that there were potential IDP displacement, and so we were getting ready, working with the UN. They have a 3 months worth of supplies there, and they have people on the ground. So now that this has taken place, and with humanitarian crisis that President Putin has caused, now working with the UN, this will go towards everything from food, shelter, medicine, working with the UNHCR, other organizations from inside Ukraine and also along the borders as well, because as you know, there's a significant amount of refugees crisis that's been also created as well.
So we don't know exactly, right, as of now, where the particular
No. In fact, this is what we want. At times of crisis, what we want to do is make sure we get the support ready to go. Give it to the people who actually need it, so they can adjust very quickly to the needs on the ground, and that is very important. So we have an idea because of regrettably there's other crises that we've dealt in the past, but we want to be flexible as possible and adjusting for the situation on the ground, and then we will work with the United States, EU, to coordinate any other further support.
I want to ask you a question about the Canadians who want to go in Ukraine to fight. Should your government discourage them to go? What's your message?
My thing is right now, I'm going to be focused on making sure we provide the support for Ukraine, and our government has been there to making sure that from the beginning, from all levels of government, every single department, providing the appropriate support, because we need to make sure that we're there for Ukrainians at this time, and asking President Putin to stop this illegal action.
But
okay, I do
somebody
have to go.
who
Okay,
doesn't
thank you so
know
much.
how
Thank
to-
you.
Thank you so much.